The Blood Huts of Algiers, the butcher of Bab el-Oued's secret feast. This story is loosely based on real accounts of serial killers in Algeria, particularly during the turbulent 20th century, when disappearances and unsolved murders were sometimes buried under political chaos. The Blood Huts refer to the hidden, decaying homes in Algiers' old quarters where victims were said to have been taken. The story, Algiers, 1978. The winding alleys of Bab el-Oued had always been a place of shadows. The neighborhood, once vibrant, had grown feral in the years after independence. Crumbling buildings, whispers of betrayal, and the lingering ghosts of war. But now, something worse prowled the streets. Children whispered of the butchers' huts, abandoned houses near the port where stray dogs fled, whimpering, and where flies gathered even in winter. The adults dismissed it as superstition, but then the disappearances began. First, it was prostitutes, then beggars, then anyone foolish enough to walk alone at night. The journalist's investigation, Farid, a disgraced reporter chasing redemption, heard the rumors. A man in a blood-stained jalaba lured victims with promises of food or work. Those who followed him were never seen again, except in flashes. A woman swore she saw her missing brother through a cracked window, his face gaunt, his lips sewn shut. Another claimed to hear chanting from the huts, a wet, rhythmic sound like meat being cleaved. One night, Farid followed a trail of dark stains leading to a boarded-up house. Inside, the stench was unbearable. Rotting meat, copper, and something sweet, like burnt sugar. The walls were smeared with handprints, some too small to be an adult's. And in the back room, he found the feast. A long table, set with cracked plates, each holding a different cut of meat. A severed hand, still wearing a wedding ring. A heart, half-eaten. And at the head of the table, a figure in a crimson robe, humming as he carved into something on the floor. Farid ran, but not before the butcher looked up and smiled. The truth uncovered. The next day, police raided the hut. It was empty, save for the stains and a single note in Arabic. The hungry must eat. The disappearances stopped after that. But sometimes, on quiet nights, the people of Bab el-Oued hear a knife scraping against bone and the sound of chewing. Freetown, Sierra Leone, 1992. The Rokel River had always been a giver. It fed the rice fields, carried traders' boats, and baptized newborn children in its shallows. But after the war began, the river changed. It started with the children. First, it was little Kadi, who went to fetch water at dusk and never returned. Then 2 boys, playing near the banks, vanished without a splash. The villagers searched, but the river gave no answers, only silence. The offerings. The elders said Njuzu, the water spirit, was angry. The war had spilled too much blood into her currents. So they sacrificed a goat, draped it in white cloth, and let the river take it. For a week, nothing happened. Then, on the 7th night, the river spoke. A fisherman heard it first, a sound like sobbing rising from the water. When he looked, he saw them. Pale shapes beneath the surface. Small hands pressed against the underside of the water, as if trapped beneath glass. The next morning, the missing children lined the riverbank, but they were wrong. Their skin was bleached white, their eyes wide and unblinking, their mouths stitched shut with black thread. The return. The village erupted in wails. Mothers clutched their children, only to recoil. Their flesh was cold, their veins visible beneath translucent skin. They did not speak. They did not eat. They only stared at the river, as if waiting. That night, the stitched mouths began to move, not to speak, but to split open. From their throats poured black water, thick as oil, carrying with it whispers in a language no one recognized. The children convulsed, their bodies collapsing like wet paper as the river reclaimed them, dragging them back into the depths. By dawn, they were gone. Only their stitches remained, tangled in the reeds like spiderwebs. The warning. The elders burned the threads, but the river was not satisfied. Even now, when the moon is high, the children can be seen just beneath the surface, their fingers trailing the currents, their sealed lips trembling as if trying to scream. And in Freetown, parents warn their sons and daughters, do not take from the river unless you are ready to give back. Mashonaland, Zimbabwe, 1987. The drought had lasted 3 years. The crops withered. The cattle dropped dead in the fields. And the children began to disappear. At first, the village blamed wild animals. Then, the war veterans passing through. But when little Tariro was found wandering the outskirts of the village, her face blank, her lips sewn shut, they knew something far worse was hunting them. The witch doctor's bargain. Elder Muchenje claimed it was the work of a Muroyi, a witch who had turned from healing to hunger. He pointed to the old Nanga, Sekuru Nyoka, who lived in the hills. He promised us rain, Muchenje whispered, but he did not say what it would cost. A group of men marched to Nyoka's hut, ready to burn him out. But when they arrived, they found something far worse than a witch. They found an artist. The skin masks, Nyoka's hut was lined with them, masks of stretched flesh, each one a perfect likeness of a missing villager. Some were still wet. Others twitched as if alive. And in the center of the room, Nyoka sat cross-legged, wearing the face of the headman's son. "You asked for rain," he said, his voice muffled beneath the stolen skin. "But the ancestors do not listen to prayers. They listen to screams." The men fled, but not before Nyoka peeled the mask away, revealing that the boy's face had not been a mask at all. It had grown onto him. The reaping. That night, the rains came. They fell thick and black, like rotting honey. Where the drops touched skin, flesh bubbled and split. By morning, half the village was writhing, their faces melting like wax. And in the mist, Nyoka walked among them, plucking faces from the living as easily as plucking fruit from a tree. The survivors say he still walks the hills, his collection growing with every dry season. And when the wind blows just right, you can hear the masks.